Hey guys, Brandon here with Exotic Cars 19, making a video I've been wanting to make for quite a while. So I've already made a review on my Raptor, and the last video I uploaded was with my friend's 2019, and I've been wanting to bring them out here for a comparison for a long time. So in short, if you're not in the market for a Raptor, you're already wrong. But for someone that is in the market, maybe you don't know if you're considering a new one, used one, Gen 1, Gen 2, hopefully this video will just ultimately just be fun and kind of enlighten you guys on the two different kinds. So like I said, this one is mine, bought it back in August, really happy with it, but that is a Gen 1. That was the last year of the Gen 1 as well, 2014, and then being 2019, the 2019 is the latest we could get, and 2019 saw some major improvements and upgrades from the 2018. If you guys didn't see my video, then feel free to check that out. But so I'm glad I have the latest of the Gen 1 and the latest of the current of the Gen 2. So that way we can have a more fair comparison. With that said, it's going to be fair that we go over some of the things that have changed, that have been done aftermarket, just so we know where we're at, and then we'll continue with the comparison. With my truck, waited about a couple months and then went ahead and put the Corsa Extreme exhaust, got rid of the resonator, sounds really good. And then a couple months ago went ahead and put a K&N cold air intake. Breathes better, just inhale and exhale. So overall, that's it. This one's got a little bit more of an extensive list, so let's go ahead and run through it. Okay, so I mentioned this in the review of it, but if you guys did not see that one yet. So it's got a AFE cold air intake and Corsa Extreme exhaust, so it's kind of tied up with mine there. It's also got AFE downpipes, Turbo Smart blow-off valves, and for cosmetics, it's got some Baja design lights. And then it's also got Venom Rex VR 601s and Toyota MTs. So that's a quick summary on what makes these different. So when we hear them in rev battle and all that kind of stuff, just know what to expect. But both of them do have the Corsa Extreme exhaust, so hopefully it stays fairly fair with that. So I've got a bulletin list actually on everything I want to cover. And the funny thing is both Raptors serve a great purpose. They both do the same thing very well. They just go about doing it very differently. But with that said, when I was making my bulletin list, I thought very quickly, being the owner of a 2014, I might be a little bit biased, but I thought it's very easy to just kind of see the specs and everything and just see that this is just a far superior truck, the Gen 2, as it should be better in some aspects because it's newer. So what we'll go ahead and do is start off briefly talking about the engines, lead into a rev battle, and then whenever I feel like my truck is falling behind in this competition, we're just going to go ahead and insert some of that footage because I am the editor of my own videos. With that said, Gen 1's going to have the 6.2 liter V8. Initially they had the 5.4, figured later on the 6.2 was just the superior engine, so that became standard. 2014, no option. It was just the 6.2 liter naturally aspirated V8, which sounds fantastic. And then the Gen 2 has got the 3.5 liter EcoBoost V6. Dual exhaust coming out straight on the back, and followed by right over here the Gen 1 has got side exit exhaust. Funny thing about the Gen 1 though is if you're wanting to accelerate, now that it sounds this way, you see a Prius on the right side, make sure it's on the right side when you accelerate, because most of the sound is obviously from the exhaust on the right side. So that's where a lot of the concussion or whatever can come from. If you're in an underpass or whatever, you definitely feel it coming from the right side of the truck because of the side exit. One thing to know when you're gonna saw some people on the highway, make sure on the right side of you. So you're probably in the left lane anyway, so it all works out. I'm just gonna try not to sit on cow shit. All right, so the first subject I already talked about a little bit, that's gonna be the engine. So the 6.2 liter V8 is an engine that's already been proven a ton through utility vehicles like the F250, the normal gas engine option, versus you could've got diesel on the 250. So this engine's already been proven, got 300, 400 plus thousand miles on engines with minimal upkeep and routine maintenance. So great engine. Obviously, if you free it up, it sounds great too, but just a ultimately really reliable engine. Does make the trucks a little bit more front heavy than the other ones, but nonetheless, it's an engine that will grow some hair on your chest. Versus, if we go over to the Gen 2, the EcoBoost is an engine that, you know, for their purpose, they got right out of the gate, so they're using it in multiple vehicles as well. So it makes sense that they threw it in the Raptor. At first, kind of threw everyone off, or threw everyone for a loop. I get it. It makes the truck a lot lighter from the front, so you can jump a little bit more level. Overall, the balance is just a bit better. And as twin turbochargers go, you get a little bit more power and torque. So let's go ahead and talk about that. Out of the gate with the 6.2, they're going to be pushing a 411 horsepower. versus these are going out of the factory with 450. The 6.2 is also good for 434 pound-feet of torque versus the new 3.5 EcoBoost is good for 510 pound-feet of torque. Of course, I have a cheat sheet. I'm not that smart. So let's go ahead and walk around and continue a little bit more. Going off weight, like I said with the engine, yeah, it is going to weigh less. Another reason for that, as well as the panels themselves, the F-150s from this generation, including the Raptor, were all steel body, and they moved over to aluminum for the Gen 2s, not just the Raptors, but just this new generation. So it saves some weight between that and the engine and some other things. So looking at about a 400 to 500 pound weight difference between these two trucks here. So of course, being the Gen 2 is lighter by between 400 to 500 pounds, depending on configuration. Obviously, continuing on with the theme of being environmentally friendly. It's a little hard to call it environmentally friendly fully. Going along that is the 10-speed automatic transmission. So they try to make it more efficient to where it's just got more gears. The last ones are kind of overdrive, trying to keep the revs down to burn less fuel. So 10-speed automatic here, co-developed between GM and Ford. Kind of a weird one. Same using the ZL1 and all that kind of stuff. So interesting. Saw some glitches initially, like I said in the review on this, but this one right here is dialed in. You have paddle shifters and all that good stuff. The Gen 1, and of course not just the Raptor, but this generation of the truck uses just a good old-fashioned 6-speed automatic. You could use, your thumb to shift manually as well, but it's not quite as peppy and responsive as the 10-speed. As automatics go, then kind of your call there. Personally, I've been loving my 6-speed, but since we covered the economic side about it, how much does it really work? I don't know. Let me remind myself. All right, so Ford said that this truck here with the 6.2 is good for 12 miles to the gallon city and 16 highway. Which will average out about 13 or so combined. I believe it. From my experience, when I just drove on the highway, I could get 13.5 if I was very, very careful. But just above 13, 13.3 or whatever, it's very, it's not far stretched to think that. This kind of driving I do, yeah, I go on the highway a little bit, not a whole lot though. A lot of it's kind of off-roading, and right now I'm averaging 12.5. So take that for what you will, it'll vary around that range. Moving on to the Gen 2. So Ford says that it will do 15 miles to the gallon city and 18 highway, average about 16 or so. And this one also has been romped around quite a bit. The last time I reset this to get the average was about 9,000 miles ago, 8 or 9,000 or so. This one's now at 7,000 miles, hasn't been reset yet. And this one, last time we checked, I think is at 12.4. So take that for what you will as well. This should be a much more efficient. It's had a fun first 7,000 miles, so just take that for what you will. But this one will be the more efficient truck on gas. All right, so we talked about how much more efficient this truck is. Who gives? Now it's time to talk about what that really translates to and how much slower mine is. This might be a good time to cue some exhaust. Let's talk about 0 to 60 time. So the Gen 1 is good for 0 to 60 run in 7 seconds. I believe the Gen 2 is at 5.3. So cool, you got your turbos, you go quicker. Who gives? Who's gonna bring these things to the quarter mile anyway? That's one question. If you did, this will do it in 15.4, this will do it in 14.1. Like I said, who gives? Doesn't matter. Let's talk about the Fox shocks. So the Fox shocks they got right out of the gate, right, in my opinion, with the Gen 1. If you guys don't remember, because I didn't, I saw a documentary recently, but when they released the Gen 1 Raptor, they also released the Raptor R, which is the one that was ready to run the Baja 1000 right away. So they didn't change the suspension, so that proves the toughness of that. And so I like the Fox shocks that they equipped it from here. However, when they went to 2019, from 2018 to 19, they did do the live valve, which is just adaptive shocks and magnetic ride control, which is a first for a mass-produced kind of, desert runner, or a Raptor anyway. So they're really cool. They're gonna mitigate your body roll a ton on the road while adapting very quickly off-road. So these things are actually superior to the previous gen suspension. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I said it in the last video, if you guys were wanting a new Raptor, you held off till now. I mean, they really dialed it in with this one. With the suspension alone, it's kind of worth the premium you have to pay. But that's a quick talk on the suspension. All right, so sat in the Gen 2, let's talk about some quick mundane differences they did ergonomic wise and all that kind of stuff, or just kind of adaptability and customization. One is up here, your auxiliary switches. I will say, I'll play some B-roll real quickly of the Gen 1. Quick summary on it is Ford, that was a new thing for Ford, and as far as just the industry in general, just that was kind of a niche market. So they didn't change up the interior of the Raptor too much from the traditional Lariat and all that kind of stuff. So some people say that the auxiliary switches look a little afterthought, which in a way maybe they were. I don't mind the look. It says SVT and everything, looks kind of cool, but Anyway, back to it. You do get 4 auxiliary switches in the Gen 1 versus 6 in the Gen 2. And I kind of like the way they're placed on the Gen 2, just kind of up high here. So that's kind of neat. One thing, I mentioned this in the review for this truck as well, the panoramic sunroof, when you do equip them in both the Gen 1 and Gen 2. I like it in the Gen 1, but it goes up to about right here. So one panel sunroof versus this one right here is 2 panel, and it goes way, way back there. So you get this really cool greenhouse effect, kind of just feels like you improve your visibility and everything, but just makes it feel a lot more open. So that's always kind of cool. I guess another thing to talk about in that point is when they, made the Gen 1, they didn't change up the key at all from any of the other models as well. Just have your standard lock, unlock, alarm. Does have keyless start, so press lock and then double tap on there, but just says forward on there, so nothing too crazy. They knew the Raptor was special by the 2nd generation, so they went ahead and made the key that said Raptor on it, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, and then of course you could always lock and double tap and start it up remotely as well. Talking about key operation though, so this is an old-fashioned keys. That's like ancient Stone Age stuff, isn't it? But you go ahead and just insert it to the side and start it up like any other traditional car. Of course, they went more modern with the new ones. It is keyless, so just have it in your pocket, press start, and foot on the brake and press start. So kind of nice. You don't have to use the key at all. I feel like I've been too nice on that truck, so it's time to get back at it. This is the tailgate to my truck here, made, of course, of steel, like I've already mentioned. The way you lock it is with a key. There you go. Lock. No one's going to steal that. The way you unlock it is with a key. To open it up, boom, like a man. Let's go over to the aluminum body. What you could do is open it up like this, and then it is descending very slowly. It's not exciting at all. But one cool thing I will say, conveniently, if you forget to lock the tailgate, you don't want anyone to steal it, you just go ahead and lock it by the key, and that's kind of nice. You don't even have to press the button on there at all, actually, to open it. Just double tap right here. I'm not jealous. All right, so I pretty much ran through everything except price, so that's gonna be the last talking point until we just go for a quick drive in both of them. So I bought this one actually back in July. I know I said August earlier, but my camera person reminded me that I am wrong. I got this back in July, and I paid $44,000 and change, and it had 57,000 miles at the time, which is fair market value. In fact, I think I went and walked away pretty good, very clean, one owner. Someone from the dealership actually owned it, so I felt pretty secure about that. Of course, every deal is gonna have their little minor changes here and there, but long story short, it's 2014 with all the right options, $44,000 and 57,000 miles already on it. So take that for what you will, because when you're looking at a brand new Gen 2, my friend actually picked this one up just a couple months ago and paid $72,000 and change. So you could look at the starting prices and all that if you want to, but just talking about current market value for these two trucks that I feel are fun to compare. But that's the difference. It's $30,000 between these, and the difference of 57,000 miles already on the odometer. Of course, that one's actually going to come standard with a 3-year, 36,000 mile warranty as well. So factor that in if you shall. Or maybe you'll avoid it, doesn't matter. So with all that said, we should probably just go ahead and, not gonna do anything too crazy, but we're on this property here to where we could hit some trails, maybe get the back end sideways a little bit and just have fun and just talk about what I think about both trucks. All right, so with that said, I guess we should start with mine, since I'm most familiar with that, and you guys might be as well, so let's get to it. All right, so like I said, starting off in mine, the Gen 1. I've always kind of liked the simplicity of this truck. It's kind of easy to just hop in and drive right away. When I'm in my Gen 1, pretty much the kind of driving style we're going to do here, we're going to keep it in 2 high, so it's rear wheel drive, just because we're not going to do any like mud bogging or nothing like that today. Again, I kind of want to slide the tail end out some, so we're going to just keep it in the driving mode like this. There's off-road mode, hill descent, all that kind of stuff. We're not going to touch that. Just going to hold down traction control off for 5 seconds. They make it very, very obvious and largely displayed here, so that's something that you can do quite often and not get lost. So 5 seconds, advanced track off, hit OK, and then put it in drive. And that's kind of how I leave this one. One quick difference I haven't mentioned yet is the steering rack. This is hydraulic. So you could do donuts in it, but it's not recommended that you do it at full lock. So you kind of let it counter steer and then you're good. I found that out the hard way, actually. The first time I was off-roading in it, I had the horrible itch to just start doing donuts right away. And what I was doing was sitting stationary like this and then going full lock, and then just gunning it that way. It was fun for about maybe 45 seconds, and then the hydraulic steering broke. Thankfully, that was right after I bought it and the dealership took care of me. Granted, they didn't really know what I was up to. So with that said, the hydraulic steering is something that is reliable. It's not like gonna break it. I mean, it took 60,000 miles to get it to that point, and I was abusing it. But that's not something you're gonna necessarily have to worry about with the electronic steering rack that's in the Gen 2. But that doesn't mean you can't do skids and all that fun stuff in the Gen 1. Just don't want to be at full lock all the time. That's all I'm saying. So of course, with all the traction control off and everything, it's just a really, really confident driving truck. Suspension wise and everything like that, the travel's long enough to have some fun with. Just a really, really predictable truck overall. And we find ourselves next to the Gen 2. Should we give that one a try? All right, so sat in the Gen 2 now, so let's go ahead and fire it up. Let me refamiliarize myself with this one. It's been a bit. Just the seat. That reminds me, one more little mundane difference is this has got 3 seat memory versus mine's got 2. It's another thing. All right, so my truck's very simple. I get in, keep it in rear wheel drive, and just turn traction off right away. This one here, like I mentioned, has more modes, so let's go through them real quick. It's got slippery, tow haul, sport, normal, deep sand, snow. It starts shifting, 4-wheel drive there. Let's keep going to Baja, which is where we're gonna be, and then rock and crawl mode. And it, adjusts the 4 high, 4 low, everything like that needs to accordingly to the mode you're in. What we're gonna do is actually go to Baja mode, which is automatically gonna turn all the traction control off, but it's gonna put us in 4 high. So I'm gonna manually go to 2 high, and that should be pretty good right there. Gonna go ahead and just put it in normal automatic. So again, it's been a while with this one, so I might have to refamiliarize myself a bit, but ultimately. It's always easy to kind of get the back end of a Raptor sideways. Okay, those blow off valves quite a bit. That's one difference you'll hear as well, just because the transmission alone, is that this one's always just shifting a bit more. That could be a good thing that the torque is kind of always there because it's at the right RPMs, but you'll hear it downshift more like that right there, like a rev mat just out of the blue, kind of more like a sports car would. But yeah, just not used to hearing that so much on an off-roader. There we are. All right, so that was pretty fun. I think we're just about wrapped up with this video. Being a Gen 1 owner, I try to crack a couple jokes here and there about the Gen 2, but ultimately, if you guys are in the market for a brand new truck, I wouldn't look anywhere else but a Raptor. In the 2019, they really did a great number on that one. So if you guys are considering a used one as well, I certainly wouldn't talk you out of a Gen 1 or a used Gen 2. But certainly if you guys are already considering a Gen 1, you want that V8, you want something to hold on to for a while, and you want to save some money, spend around 40-some grand, I would not talk you out of a Gen 1. It's been a phenomenal truck for me. They're really reliable and they'll do everything you want them to do for a Raptor. But of course, if you have the coin and you want something new with a warranty, there's really no dedicated winner here. So with that said, hopefully you guys enjoyed and had some fun watching. I know I had some fun filming it, but that'll just about do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Catch you on the next one.